Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Rainbow Crossing Podcast, a podcast where Gen X and Gen Z discuss life's challenges and how we face them as queer people. We have these open conversations to foster a sense of community through different perspectives. My name is Julio, and with me is...
Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Julio.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay. It's been a challenging week for you in particular. And like we were just talking a little while ago, you and I both actually got some pretty darn good news this week about things that we won't go into right now. They're still in development. Don't want to jinx it. But there's a lot of good energy in our lives right now. But you faced a pretty significant challenge, you and your group of friends this past week.
Yeah. So as you've noticed, probably the tone of starting this podcast sounds a little bit more mellow. But that is specifically because we're dealing with grief on today's episode, which comes in many different ways. But I unfortunately had a friend pass this past week, and it has been a very interesting process for, I'm sure, a lot of people. Very unexpected death, but we've just had to process in our own different ways, and I've learned a lot through this because this is one of the first times I've gotten to experience an actual funeral and grieving in that specific way. I've had people in my life pass, but I've never been able to attend, or it just was never in the cards for me to be there.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my coworkers covered my shifts, and I was able to attend the viewing and the funeral this week in the middle of the week. And I took a lot from this, truly. But yeah, today's episode is fully about grief.
Yeah, this was not the plan.
Today we had another episode planned, but
yeah,
all I can talk about this week is how I've been feeling, just because I haven't had the social battery to talk about anything else, really.
Yeah.
That's where my mind's been. That's where my family's been. That's where my love has been with my friends. And that's just where I'm at currently. So we had to switch up the topic to process this and hopefully gain insight and give good resources to people who deal with unexpected parts of grief.
Yeah. Unfortunately, grief usually happens unexpectedly. Sometimes we know something is coming, but more often than not, it hits us, and it hits us hard. And today we're specifically talking about the loss of a loved one, but grief can come in all shapes and sizes for all manner of loss. It can be the loss of a loved one. It could be the loss of a relationship. It could be the loss of a job. It could be the loss of an idea of something. Like, grief hits all of us at some point. If we live long enough, grief will hit all of us. And unfortunately, that is part of life, is the loss of a person in your life. And I don't know if you want to talk about this person or not. I did not know this individual. He followed us because he's your friend on the podcast socials. And of course, we followed him back. So I got to see some of his life through social media. And certainly I'm friends with a lot of your friends. So their social medias were filled with tributes of him over the last few days. So I feel like I know him, and especially through you, because you've talked about him for years prior to this week. But I don't know if you want to share anything about him specifically.
Yeah, I'm going to say my friend is one of the most open, loving, caring people that I have met. He, in a lot of ways, reminds me of you in qualities that he has, like just opens the door for anybody. And in a way, even more extreme than you. Like, anytime people would come in with new people, he was just basically giving them the whole pass of like, this is your house too. Like, you're welcome here. You're safe. Yeah. You can talk to me about whatever. And just was just this sense of comfort to anybody who walked into his place. And it's difficult to see somebody who seems very joyous and warming to the people around them go way too soon. He's married to my friend Alex, who is also an amazing man, and unfortunately Alex lost his husband, who in my experience has been one of the first gay couples that I have met that has had a beautiful home, has had some dogs, which I love as well, and just gave this sense of community to anybody.
Something to aspire to.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, this is a life that can be achievable for me. Like, I'm seeing an example of something that is realistic to me. And up until that point, I haven't seen many things that I want in other relationships and couples. And that was the first time I had experienced like, oh, I can be successful and be joyous to the people around me and also give to everyone around me. And that kind of just opened up my mind and said that I can be queer, gay, and still be successful at the same time. And being at his funeral, it was very, very interesting. There was a lot of people, number one, which was beautiful to see that many people show up. I had never been to a funeral before. I mean, my grandma had passed in 2020 during COVID in the summer in July, and she was in Mexico at the time, so I could not go see her. And the other loss I had was when I was 20, and it was my ex-boyfriend who took his life. So a lot of mixed feelings in that part, especially since my ex-boyfriend was abusive and a bunch of other things that made me conflicted into not wanting to reach out and find out more. I kind of just processed it and went forward. But this time, being 3 hours away, I was like, I need to go. I didn't know what I was going to feel just because my emotions and the way that I process things is very much alone. And I like to grieve on my own, and I like to handle all my feelings by myself, which I know cannot be healthy, but I'm used to that. And I'm used to being able to like get myself to a better place alone. But I knew that I had to be there and show support to my friend and all my friends. Tuesday was the viewing. And what was so beautiful is that the line from the viewing was so long, and it stayed long. The viewing was just from 6 to 8, and that whole 2 hours straight line out the door, just trying to see my friend and his husband. And it was a very sad but beautiful experience to see that many people show up. And you can just see how much my friend impacted all these people's lives, because all the stories that I heard, all the viewing and the pictures and videos that they made for him, I couldn't help but to smile at times and cry at the same time, just to see how joyous he was on the screen. And it's hard to see someone like that go unexpectedly, and you wonder, why couldn't I see them one more time? And when was the last time I saw them? And how was I like the last time I saw them? Was I embracing them fully? Was I saying I love you enough? All these questions just came to my head. And I just know that every time I was around my friend, it was nothing but good and beautiful energy. So I could remember that much. But I still had a feeling of not being able to say I love you enough. And it just showed me that I need to be more embraceful about every person that I meet and give them the warmth that I expect to see through everybody. And sometimes I struggle to be as expressive and as emotionally open visibly to the people around me, but I've taken from this that man was all those things, and it just showed and radiated through the room.
Yeah, his funeral was on a Wednesday, and like you said, it was a full house. It's not easy to travel, especially for a funeral in the middle of the week, and the fact that it was so well attended. It really speaks highly, of course, of him and his husband and the love that all of you shared for him and with him.
1,000%. I've only known him from a portion of my life, but other people knew him even longer. And what's devastating to me, but joyous to think about my friends, is that a lot of them actually got to see him the week before. Like a lot of my friend group got to see him the week before. They all went to a trip in Mexico, and it was a lovely time from what I saw and what I heard. But to experience my friend, and then a week from that point that they saw him, he's gone, they're probably grieving more intensely as someone who is thinking of the last moment that they saw him and using that as their last memory. Now I'm just wishing I had more memories, and now I'm just wishing that I was in Mexico experiencing this with my friends. Because you never know what your last takeaway is going to be from anything.
It's an important reminder on a couple of fronts. One, as you said earlier, it's important to tell people while they're here how important they are to you. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that they've made a difference in your life. Tell them all of the time. I am guilty of this too, because I like to talk well about people behind their backs. Like, I love to tell people how amazing you are behind your back. But I need to be telling that to you, or at least while you're present in front of people. And the same with anybody. And I really have tried to get that in my head lately, is tell people so that they know. Like, usually we have an idea that people love us, but I don't think a lot of people fully understand how much they are loved. So I think that that's one really, really important takeaway. And the other thing is that life is short.
So short.
Take the trip and don't spend money recklessly, but money comes and goes. I spent money on a trip this summer that I really didn't have to spend, but I have zero regrets. I got to celebrate one of my best friend's milestone birthdays, his 40th birthday, and I cannot imagine not having done that. The memories that we made, the fun stories that we shared, money doesn't replace that sort of thing. So, like, I know you weren't able to go on that trip, but it is one of those things where, like, we need to take advantage of our friendships and our loves while we have them.
1,000%. And that's exactly what my friend was good at. That's exactly what he did every single time. He was just someone who was full of life. Even though it was a short life, he filled it up all the way to the brim. And it was a beautiful life. He might have lived a full life even in just that experience that he had, which is a blessing to a lot of people to experience that much life, but also it's because he never stopped and he always kept going and trying at everything that he did and just being an open door to every single person. It was beautiful to hear everybody talk about him. And I'm someone who is mostly an observer. Like, I just like to listen and see, and seeing all different types of grief happen. But at the end of the day, even though a lot of people were grieving differently, everyone was still experiencing joy and love in a way that I would not expect at a funeral.
Yeah.
But that's what we should want, just to remember the good things. And with this man, there was nothing but good things.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but my first big boy job was working for a national association when I lived in Milwaukee, long before I knew you. And it was for the National Funeral Directors Association. I may have mentioned that in passing at some point. I don't really talk about it a lot. It's been so long ago. It's been over 20 years now. But we were an association. We didn't work in a funeral home, but we worked with funeral directors. And I worked on the marketing team. Very early on, as one of my first campaigns we did, we launched this For a Life Worth Celebrating campaign is what it was called. And it really stuck with me, that terminology, for a life worth celebrating someone's life instead of mourning their death. Yes, we are mourning, like the people who are left behind are going to be sad, but we should also be able to celebrate the fact that we got to know them for any period of time. Obviously, this young man left a large impact on people. He really changed some people's lives, and that is worth celebrating. 1,000%. And it's hard because grief is such a weird thing, and it's not a constant thing. It comes in waves. Some days you may feel it to an extent that it's unbearable. Other days you may not even think about the person. But grief is intermingled with happiness too, joy. And it's complicated in our hearts and in our minds that we're feeling these two emotions that are on the extreme ends of the human experience almost at the same time. And so it becomes really challenging. How do I feel these things? And I'm somebody who feels all of the things. And like just you talking about it earlier, like I said, I've not met this young man. I was holding back tears as you were talking about it. And I think looking at you, and I see it.
You're going to make me cry.
I see it in your eyes. And so I feel it too. And so it's really, really hard when you feel emotions all the time. But it's also really hard when it's not something that you regularly embrace or easily embrace. And I don't think that you avoid emotions. I think you handle them differently than I do, certainly. And there's no right way to handle grief. There are some wrong ways to handle grief, certainly. Yes. But there's no right way to go about it, and we all do it differently. I think it's important that we do it. So many people, men in general, try to go around grief. And you're not going to circumvent grief. You have to go through it at some point, or it will haunt you forever if you don't face it. The problem becomes is when you're going through grief, when you get stuck in it and you just sit down in it, and it envelops, your whole life, to where you fall into a depression, or maybe you're thinking negative things about yourself, your life, how you want to proceed or not proceed, and you just get stuck. And so that's the real challenge with grief is how we move through it, not around it, but through it. And honestly, grief kind of sticks with us for a lot of these important people in our lives. I mean, if you live long enough, you're going to lose somebody who is the most important person in the world to you. I have not lost that person yet. I have definitely lost people in my life, all my grandparents, of course, friends from high school, but no one who is just like extremely, extremely close. But going through life, we do go through the grieving process, even if it's not the loss of a loved one. But as we go through life, we experience more and more grief. And hopefully it doesn't harden us to the grief. Hopefully it does exactly what you're talking about and allows us to understand that it should be a celebration of what we had. And they're always going to be with us. Those memories of the relationship, of the person, of the job, whatever it is that we're grieving, it's always going to be with us.
My process of this has been like a roller coaster, really. I found out Friday, it happened Friday night. I found out Saturday. And finding out Saturday, I got it through a text from close friends of mine. I was just leaving work. I had a full day of work, and I was planning to go home for that weekend right after work, actually. I was had a full day of work, and I was I'm driving to Dallas this weekend to see my family. But when I got that text, my mind just shut off. And I was like, I don't think I can drive for 3 hours after this long work day and handling this. I want to just sit and think about it a little bit more. So I stayed, and Saturday I did nothing because I just didn't want to do anything. I feel like I get really closed off and in my mind, and in a form of slight depression when I first hear something, because all I want to do is think about my experience with this person and who they were and what they brought, and just grief that it was way too soon. Because you wouldn't expect it to happen. No one does. I don't want to get into the details of how my friend left, but it was just very, very unexpected, and I would have not thought that would have happened. But all I could think about is how happy he is, how happy he was always. The beautiful smile he had every time someone walked in, the beautiful smile he had just period all the time, and just being a vibrant, affectionate person of loving to be around people just period as well. It didn't matter who you were with. He just wanted to embrace you for who you fully were at all times. Yeah. And I got to understand a little bit more of a deeper version of him at his funeral. I got to understand what he was like as a kid. I got to understand who he was like as a teen, who he was as a young adult, who he was as an adult, and who he was as a husband. And hearing all the perspectives from all the people who loved him at different points in their life, loved him throughout their whole life, even though they met them at a young kid or as a teen or all of those things that I just described, his energy stayed the same the whole way through. And it was beautiful to think that you are kind of unshakable as a kid and growing up to still be that same childlike energy all the way to your adulthood is what I hope everyone gets to learn to do or experience in their life. Because as I started to get older, I feel like I have gotten more reserved at times and not being as silly or outgoing or feeling those types of vibes that you would get as a kid, and seeing these videos and hearing these stories of my friend that played through his whole life. And I want to radiate that kind of energy. And I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on not being so uptight and feeling more joyous. Right now it's a little different because I'm still processing everything, but I know what kind of energy this man had, and it was infectious and radiant and vibrant to everyone around him. And I hope that that's what we as people can do for each other and learn to be that way, because it's not. I've seen what it's like to be in your head and live this negative life. And I've also seen what it's like to live a full, vibrant life and it end. I've seen both ends. One is a lot more depressing and sad, and the other one is a lot more cheerful and celebratory. It's definitely how you are while you're here that's going to leave a mark on what you're like when you're gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Life hardens us, and we face all of these challenges. We face grief. We face disappointments. We face loss in general. And so we retreat. And it's really easy to do that. I've been given a reminder this year, and because that is not who I am naturally. I like to, as you said, I like to be around people. I like to give back to people. Mm-hmm. I like to open my doors to friends and people I don't know. And I found myself restricting that the last couple of years for a lot of different reasons. And those were all valid reasons. But there were some reminders this year. And unfortunately, death, loss, grief is a reminder that life is short and we need to make the most of it. Yes, it's important to leave a legacy, I suppose. But my legacy is just, it's while I'm here. It's like I want to radiate, as you said, happiness. I want to radiate acceptance. And this young man did it, and he did it right. And the way he lived his life is an example, a reminder to us, but also the loss of his life is a reminder to us as well, to make the most of it.
In reality, there is no real way to grieve. You can grieve any way you'd like.
Yeah.
I found myself eating whatever I wanted more than usual this whole week, because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to. Nothing is going to stop me. I'm going to do exactly what I want right now. And I took this week to fully understand what I'm feeling. But some people take months. Some people take years. And I think the thing that's going to help with it, period, is to be around people who know you, who know them, who love you, and you can just talk to them about it. Yeah. Talk to them about all of it, whatever kind of grief you're experiencing. Because we meet each other and we think that we don't have a purpose, and it just, the stars align that way, and now we're friends or we're in each other's lives. But maybe the purpose is just being there for each other. I don't know how much of an impact I was going to be for my friend going over there. I already knew they had tremendous amount of support, but I'm like, the least I can do is try to go show up and be there for them if they do need me. And seeing my friend, giving them the biggest hug ever, I did not know that just me being there was going to be that impactful for him, but I could tell that he was very sincere and happy to see me there. And I hugged him, and I basically just told him, I love you so much. I know I don't tell you this enough, but I do love you, and I will always love you, and I will remember to tell you this more. And I also loved your husband. Y'all are amazing people, and I'm just so sorry that this happened to you, because it's just not fair that all kinds of things will take us out of this world, and it's up to us to still choose to live and embrace and love and just be there for one another.
Yeah. Navigating that grief is so hard, especially when it's a shared grief. Obviously, there was a community of people grieving. So you're feeling sad, but obviously you're feeling sadness for your friend's partner as well. And so you want to be there for them. And I do think that talking is one of the best ways to deal with grief. We need to talk through our emotions. We need to get it out of us. And sometimes we have to let our friends know, I just need you to listen. Some people don't understand, especially, maybe someone like you who holds it in. There have been a few amount of times where you've come to me and said, I need to talk about something. And when you are really emotional, and you don't get super, super emotional very often. And I knew in that moment when you came to me and said you needed it, I knew you needed it. And so like the people who aren't necessarily grieving or grieving as much as the other person, we need to make sure that we are receptive to the other person's needs. But as the person who's grieving, you got to let people know and you got to let people in. As someone who can't hold it in, when I went through my first big breakup after 11 years in the relationship, I couldn't stop talking about it. And I know that it annoyed some of my friends, and they had not gone through that kind of loss and grief themselves at that point in their lives. And they have since come back to me, 2 or 3 of them, and have said, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you to the extent I should have been. I didn't understand what you were going through. So it's an unfortunate thing as we get older, we all experience loss and grief that goes with it. And hopefully that understanding allows us to be there for other people and go through it. So, it is important that we talk and that on the other side of things that we're open to listening as well.
Yeah, what was really beautiful about all of his friends and family getting together is that we lit up a bunch of candles everywhere throughout the house for him. We put pictures all over the place. And we got him a bunch of different bouquets of flowers. But in those moments, even while we're all just together at his place, we would play a video that one of our friends made about him, just a slideshow collage with videos and sweet, beautiful memories with all of us. We played that video multiple times, and every single time it started playing, everyone would just stop talking and watch it and embrace it. And the end of the video ended with him laughing next to his partner, Alex, and his laugh is just one of the most contagious, beautiful, hilarious, vibrant laughs ever. And I can still hear it in my head. Like, just from that video, I can hear his laugh in my head. And it brings me so much joy to still be able to do that, because eventually you might forget what things sound like and what people look like as time goes on. But that's the more of the reason you should embrace them even more every single time you get the chance. Because as of right now, that laugh is engraved in my mind, and I hope it stays engraved in my mind, because it's an easy pick-me-up. I mean, right now I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about his laugh and hearing it in my mind, but it's also making me smile and making me feel a little bit warm as I'm thinking about it. But I just want people to be there for each other more.
Yeah.
In the day-to-day.
Yeah. I guess we should also just talk about what we should be doing for ourselves, because a lot of times, yes, we can turn to our groups of friends, but after the funeral is over, after people have brought the casseroles and everything, what do you do when everybody leaves? There comes a point in time when you are alone in your grief. And again, it's the idea that you can't go around the grief, you have to go through it. Yeah. Being careful to not sit in it, but go through it. And I think one of the most important things that we need to be mindful of is, while we are attending to our emotional needs, that we should also be attending to our physical needs, because the physical body ties in so much to our emotional and mental well-being. So we need to make sure, as well as we can, that we're eating, that we're sleeping, that we're getting some kind of exercise as part of it. And I know that seems a little counterintuitive, like I'm in this state and I don't want to do anything at all, and maybe I can't sleep as I'm going through all this stuff. But as much as we can, it's really important to make sure that we're attending to our physical needs, because it does have a big impact on our emotional state.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, I only worked out once within that time. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I was like, the process of grief itself. When I first heard, I was in shock. I was to myself. I wanted to just sit with myself and envision and think about things and think about my friend and his partner and what life is like afterwards, because it's just a bunch of big question marks. And then 2 days after that, I was still in my mind, but I was like, it's not healthy to keep sitting here alone. I need to do something more. So I did go work out, and that did help me move. That did help me feel a little bit lighter. Yeah. Help for the moment, but I noticed that my mood had shifted slightly, And it went more into a progression of progress and acceptance, really. Because I was holding all of that energy in my mind, in my body, and letting it out physically as well helped me feel lighter. And then by that point, I was figuring out when to go, if I could go during the week. And then I got that covered, and then I went. And now I'm at the process of grief where I'm experiencing and be able to talk about it with people who get me, people who understand, people who knew this person. Now I'm at a place where we can get through this together. So I started alone, and then I processed with friends, and now I'm back to myself. I feel a lot better from the initial shock, but I know that I'm still going to be thinking randomly about my friend and my friend's husband and what life is like for them right now.
I want to say two things about how to process grief, because we've really talked about them, but I just want to put a name to them.
Yeah.
You know, going to the funeral, doing the video, watching the video, remembering the laughs. You know, those rituals are so important to us. And I don't think many of us completely understand funerals are not for the dead person. They're for the living people. Like, we are trying to get through the grief. We're trying to process all of this stuff. So a lot of people can't attend funerals. They're across the country, or they have to work during the week, or whatever the case may be. But as much as you can, be involved in these ritual remembrances. And maybe it's attending a funeral online, because most of them are online these days, or getting to see that memorial video that they put together. You know, hopefully they'll pass it around to everybody so everybody can keep that. Being able to do those sorts of things, even if you aren't able to attend the funeral and it's not online, you know, sit and think about it. I think one of the best things about Mexican culture is Dia de los Muertos, where you think about your family that has passed, your loved ones who have passed on, and so you always carry them in your heart, and it's as if they're still with you, because in some ways they are still with you. Every person that you interact with for any length of time, they influence you in some way. It may be really, really small ways, but if it's someone who's as important as this young man was to all of you, he has influenced you clearly to a large degree. So he will always be with you.
1,000%.
The other thing that I want to say is, it is important while you have all these friends in your life and everything, but that you let them know what your boundaries are. Like, you may want friends in your house 24/7 for the next month after you've gone through grief like that, but you may need some time alone. And it's just important that you let people know what you need when you are in the grieving process. And the people who love you and who understand what grief is, they will be there for you, whatever you ask of them. So it's just important. And it goes, again, back to communicating with yourself what you need, and with others so they understand what you need. Because like we said before, everybody grieves differently, and there's not necessarily a right way to do it, but it's important that the people who love you know so they can support you through that process.
Yes.
So, you know, as we're dealing with grief, obviously, as we said before, it comes in waves. Some days it's heavier than others. And I think it's very important that we self-monitor, and that we make sure that we're not dipping into too much depression to the point where we can't go about our day-to-day lives. Like, I've laid in bed and cried for an hour or two after a breakup or something, even days, weeks after the breakup. But if that's all that I have the ability to do is stay in bed for an entire weekend, I might want to start self-regulating as far as, like, what do I need to do? And I get that grief can just be debilitating to the point where we don't feel like we can do anything. So if it feels that way, it might be time to seek some kind of professional help. If you're thinking about self-harm, please seek out some professional help. And it may start with, I just need to tell a friend. It could be that you go to group sessions for people who are dealing with grief, the loss of loved ones, and those are free to attend. Those kind of meetings, you might want to seek out a therapist, but at a minimum, you need to talk about how you're feeling. Grief can be so overwhelming, and oftentimes when we're first going through that level of grief, because we've never experienced it before, it feels like we're never going to get out of it. It feels like the worst thing in the world. And if you can't see a way out of that deep, dark, black hole that you're in, why would you want to stick around? So please, if you're feeling that way, please communicate that with someone who loves you.
Yeah, I think it's important to do all of those things and to accept your grief however you choose to channel it, but also know that you can't be there for too long, or at least sit in it. It takes different types of length of time to get over it, but use the people around you, talk about it, be open about it, and then it'll go by quicker than you would assume. Before we end this episode, I just want to say that my friend Bernard is a very loving man, and his love and energy, even though he's gone, will transcend through multiple planes of life and existence, because we are just a vessel. This body's just a vessel. At some point, my body's going to be gone. Hopefully I have people to remember me by, but I know that doing what you can with your spirit and your energy and your love for the people around you is going to leave an impact that even when you're gone, it'll keep going, honestly. Yeah. And I'm going to always think about you. We love you. There's so many people who care for you. It showed, and it will constantly show, because you are not easy to forget. So I love you, and I hope we meet again someday. Big shout out to all my friends and Alex's family and Bernard's family, and everybody who is there community-wise. Yeah. Because we made the biggest difference for everybody around us, for each other. Yeah. Most importantly. But love you, Daniel.
I love you too.
This was a great episode. Yeah. And I appreciate you so much.
Likewise. Love you very much. And we love you guys.
Yes.
And we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.